You're listening to Fast Facts, Ask the Expert with Tom Viola. Listeners, welcome into another Fast Facts, Ask the Expert, joined today by Tom Viola. Tom, thanks for being here.
And it's always a pleasure. You know how much I love working with you, buddy. So always a pleasure.
I think it's because you love talking about illegal drugs. And you're like, you know what? No one else is going to give us a platform where we can talk about drugs all day long. Man, you're the best. You're absolutely the best. I love this.
Thank you, buddy.
These next 5 drugs that we're going to be talking about is kicking off it's continuation of the series we started already. Listeners, if you haven't listened to the last several drugs, we talked about fentanyl, Adderall. We talked about THC, the new weight loss drugs, the semaglutide, tirzepatide, methamphetamines, and I believe magic mushrooms, I think was that last one. But for this next 5, we have some really fun ones for y'all. So here we go. Tom, you ready for this?
I'm ready, Andrew. I've been selling drugs for money for years. I mean, some people call it pharmacy, but I like the cooler part of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you're at a party and they're like, what do you do? I'm a drug dealer. That's what I do.
Yeah, right. You know, I don't have to say I'm a pharmacist. I'll just give them the more cool answer. That's fine.
That's right. Okay, so here we go. So speaking of cool, we have a drug that I associate. Actually, you know what? There's an interesting theme, and hopefully I can remember to say this on all of the episodes going forward. There's an interesting theme that almost all of these drugs, I have some sort of TV show relationship to it. So the first one is going to be the party drug, Ecstasy. I remember this one very specifically because there's a show called The West Wing, and there was like this whole little storyline about the kids doing the ecstasy at the party.
Yes.
And so tell me everything about the ecstasy. Tell me what that impact might be for our patients that we're seeing in our chair, things that we need to be aware of as clinicians.
So, MDMA is an interesting drug because it's methylene dioxymethamphetamine. So a lot of people don't know what the MDMA stands for. Really, it is a form of methamphetamine, but because it's also a hallucinogen, MDMA really ends up being sort of different, sort of special in that it's the one drug I would say your loved ones, your family members, or your coworkers could be using, and you may not even know it because on the one hand, it's a hallucinogen, so it does cause a lot of brain activity to happen, just this sort of rush in your brain. But at the same time, it also stimulates alpha-2 receptors in the central nervous system, which causes a very, obvious physical relaxation. So on the one hand, you've got physical relaxation, which you don't necessarily assume or associate with a methamphetamine. But at the same time, you've got a lot of this mental acuity, which is really part of the hallucinogenic portion of it. And so it's because of that, as I said, that it's the one drug I think you may not even realize people are using. The other thing about MDMA is that this paradoxical effect of relaxation and stimulation is desirable for some people because they want to have the mind-blowing, mental experience while not having any outward-looking signs and symptoms, sweating and nervousness and so on. MDMA is also the one drug that I believe came closest to FDA approval for a treatment specifically of PTSD, and I think maybe one other condition, but it fell short of FDA approval. And of course, we all know that ecstasy gets its name from the fact that people do use it in certain environments, nightclubs, that kind of thing. And the reason why, of course, is MDMA is a tablet you can swallow, or in some cases, it's kind of like LSD. You can put it on a piece of paper and swallow that. Not something I'd recommend. But because it many times increased people's libido, it often got the moniker of ecstasy. But you may remember the time when a certain, I would say kid pop music turned bad girl talked about Molly, which was, very similar in the fact that it has many different names, but it's all basically the MDMA. And to your point with the West Wing, that was a pretty eye-opening experience for some parents who's maybe didn't realize their kids might be using a drug like MDMA.
Do you think it'd be outside the realm? I mean, you think of it more like in the party scenes, but is it outside the realm that someone might take this before a dental appointment so that they get that relaxed, they get a little bit of maybe euphoria where they would in a situation where they normally wouldn't get a euphoria?
Oh, for sure. And this is the thing, in my day, because I'm older, a lot older than you, a lot older than a lot of people listening, perhaps, we call them recreational drugs. But now really, they're not really used to recreate. They're used to basically operate, to exist, to get through your trying, busy, tiring days. And so a lot of people use drugs like MDMA because, again, there's really no outward signs. And at the same time, it gets me through the experience. And let's face it, MDMA was considered to be a drug for PTSD. So it does help people get through traumatic experiences. like
Is
dental.
there any Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of the most traumatic experiences for people. Is there any risk that we need to really be concerned about?
Well, definitely, as a stimulant, MDMA increases blood pressure, increases pulse, can lead to issues with local anesthesia and epinephrine, just basic stuff like that. But also, since it's a hallucinogen, it alters perception of time, space, physical experiences, your response to stress, your response to things in your environment. And so that can lead to inappropriate, unexpected behavior. And that's why I think it's important every time, and we're going to probably talk about this a couple times during these next couple drugs, but it's really important for us to ask our patients a solid question, which is, do you or have you used substances or something, or illicit drugs used illicitly in the last 24 hours? Because you've got to get a positive or negative response to that question, yes or no, and document your answer. Because later on, if the patient says, well, I used that drug and I didn't know what really happened, and because I was under the influence, I couldn't really give you informed consent. You don't want to go down that road at all. So it's just easier to ask the question and make your decisions from there.
Absolutely. Man, Tom, this is a great one. Thanks for being here. If anyone wanted to reach out and find you, how can they find you?
Find me on my website at tomviola.com and anywhere on social media at Pharmacology Declassified. And thank you, Andrew, for all you do. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening to Fast Facts Ask the Expert. If you have a topic you'd like one of our experts to answer, simply email me, Andrew at ataleoftoahygienist.com, and we will get it on the air as soon as possible. Thanks for listening.